All right. All right. So we have some information about what the Cavs offseason plans are going to be. Now, it seems like the Cavs plan to, unless something surprises them, to stay put, run it back with the roster. And we'll talk about at the end of the video why I don't think that's the worst strategy in the world, especially given what we're seeing going on with what the NBA is today. But we'll start with Jarrett Allen and Darius Garland. Chris Fedor has a report. Take it with whatever you want to take it with. You know, I know some people feel some type of way about Chris Fedor. But Chris Fedor has a report. The Cavs could trade Jarrett or Darius Garland. They are not seen as untouchable. He went on to say, I think the two untouchables are Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley. I have been getting the sense that the Cavs would be more willing to entertain at least or consider the possibility of trading Jarrett Allen and Darius Garland than they have been in the past. So I think when you're at the point the Cavs are with the roster, the way the season ended early than anybody expected, and with the salary cap situation, you had to start considering some of the alternatives you have to start having a very difficult conversations that are going to be painful, maybe even subtractions from the rosters that are going to be painful, Fedor said. So, you know, that gives credence, my bad, not leans, to some of the theories out there that the Cavs could trade Jarrett Allen or Darius Garland. Here's my issue with trading Darius Garland. I'll get to my issue with trading Jarrett Allen in just a minute. So trading Darius Garland to me seems like an awful idea because you have to basically get a perfect trade package in order to move him, right? Darius is in this Goldilocks zone, or, you know, in this weird zone of caliber of player. Darius Garland, on one hand, is too good to just trade away. He's too valuable to your basketball team to just trade away, right? We saw that in the playoffs versus the Pacers. The only game where the Cavs looked good versus the Indiana Pacers was the only game that Darius Garland was healthy. It's not a coincidence, right? He is very important. I would argue almost too important. The way the roster is structured, there is no wiggle room for Darius Garland injury, and Darius Garland is a player who does get injured, right? He's also, and let me double check this, but I believe he is a max player, so he's expensive, right? So you can't just trade him for anybody, right? Remember the NBA rules when it comes to contracts and trading. These things have to match. It's not like the NFL where you could just throw whatever in a bucket and get whatever back, right? Darius this year is going to make $39 million. Next year, 42, and the year after that, 44. So you still got a lot of money left on that deal. And you got to find a team that can take that in and then match that salary, right? Like, he's just not an easy player to trade. And what would be likely is that you trade for a bad contract to trade Darius Garland. Let me put it like this. Even if Darius Garland wanted to trade, I don't think the Cavs would trade him. And it's not because Darius Garland is like such a good player that he's irreplaceable, even though Darius Garland is a very good player, right? It's a combination of things. One, who are you going to trade Darius Garland for that's going to be better than a multiple-time all-star that's 25 years old with 4 years left on this deal? Who are you going to find? I'll wait. I hear all these trade suggestions, and I'm going to be real with y'all. These trade suggestions are trash. Absolute garbage. Like, y'all be talking about, let's bring in Jalen Suggs for Darius. That's stupid. What? What are we doing? What are we doing? We're going to be so much worse, right? And trading Darius Garland, I don't think solves the main issue, right? I know people point to Darius and say, oh, the Cavs have two undersized guards and all that. I don't give a damn about the two undersized guard thing. I don't think that's why you lost to the Pacers. The reason you lost to the Pacers is because your three-point shots weren't dropping and because you did not have a true backup point guard on this team, right? Like, I think that makes a difference. Trading Darius Garland means that not only do you not have a true backup point guard, you no longer have a point guard. And you can say, well, Donovan Mitchell can play point guard. No, he can't. Donovan Mitchell is a two guard. He's been at his best, a all-NBA first team player at the two guard position. He does not need to play point guard. He's just going to be a worse version of himself at shooting guard. And why would you want your best player to be a worse version of himself? Right? You want to put players in a position to be the best version of yourself. And you know what ironically is going to end up happening if you trade Darius Garland is we're going to play Donovan Mitchell at point guard. We're going to get bounced in the second round again. And then we're going to spend all of next offseason talking about we need to get Donovan Mitchell a true point guard so he could be his best self and play two guard. Well, then why did you trade Darius Garland in the first place if you was going to end up there, right? I get it. People are going to throw at me, well, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I'm not pleading that the Cavs just run it all back and just not change anything. You got to change some stuff around the edges. But you know what else is insanity? The definition of insanity is just doing random shit and thinking because you just do random shit, it's going to work out because it's different. It's not going to work out. Like, just because you're not doing the same thing over and over again doesn't mean that some of your solutions aren't insane. And trading a 25-year-old, multiple-time All-Star, for what? When you already have a shortage of point guards on the roster, does not seem like the sanest course of action to me. And look, if the right deal comes along and you can get a superstar player for Darius Garland, sure, right? Go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? We'll figure out everything else around the edges. I'm not saying that there's no situation where you trade Darius Garland, but there's not a lot of situations where you trade Darius Garland, right? This is not a player you just give up. Just to give up. And the same thing is true to an extent with Jarrett Allen. Obviously, Jarrett's a lot more movable than Darius. There's a ton of teams that would love a big like Jarrett Allen, be willing to pay a little bit of a premium for him, right? I know the Lakers always come up whenever Jarrett Allen trades pop up because the Lakers are the most desperate team for a center. And those teams are primarily going to be in the West. Because if you look at the East, there's just no dominant centers in the East. Like I talked about this. The whole issue about the Cavs, are they tough or are they not? I don't really think it matters if the Cavs are the most physically imposing team in the NBA because the East is full of teams that are also not physically imposing. Like, let's say the Cavs traded for Steven Adams, right? And everybody would be happy. Steven Adams is big, tough, he rebounds. All the folks on Twitter that complain about the Cavs not being a physical enough basketball team will be thrilled, right? Steven Adams is everything that everybody wants in a big in Cleveland. Okay, cool. The Cavs go out. They get Steven Adams. Now, when you go up and you play the Pacers, is Steven Adams going to stay on the floor with Miles Turner? Probably not. So you know what happens? Steven Adams only plays 15, 10, 20 minutes in there, right? Maybe you can get a guy who can run a little bit like a Mitchell Robinson, right? And it makes a difference. Mitchell Robinson's making a difference in that Knicks series for sure. But it's not going to make so much of a difference that it's going to swing a 7-game series or swing a 6-game series or turn a 5-game exit into a 6-game dub, right? Like, that's just not going to be what it's going to be. Because what Rick Carlisle's going to do is figure out ways to just run your one big off the floor, right? Because that's real easy to do with how the Pacers play. And a lot of teams in the East play in a similar manner, right? So having the one big, I think it'll be useful, but am I going to sacrifice Jarrett Allen just to get that one player? No, I would probably want to get a backup point guard with that player as well, right? Like, I think you have to get more than what people are asking for out of the Jarrett Allen trade. Now, Jarrett Allen's contract is a lot more movable. It's going to be technically an expiring next year, right? He's 27. He'll be on the last year of his deal at 20 mil. So look, Jarrett Allen's going to get a lot of attention in the trade market. I anticipate it. I think people are going to look at him and say, hey, he's 27. He's a good center. We need somebody who can do what Jarrett Allen does. I think if you're the Cavs and you're looking for a center or you're looking to change anything, I do think Jarrett Allen is where it makes sense. But it has to make sense. I don't think just moving him to move him is a solution, right? If you're the Cavs, where do you want to get stronger? You want better screeners, right, that you can actually play. That's another issue that the Cavs have. We just don't have very many strong screeners. So when they want to press and get physical on the perimeter, there's no way to get that separation at the 3-point line. We don't have guys who can screen. We're not particularly good off ball. I would love to get some off ball guys here and kind of filter out the Dean Wades and the Isaac Okoro guys with people who are better. And when I'm saying off ball, what I'm referring to personally is people who are better moving without the ball, right? Like our inbound plays have been a disaster because we don't move well without the ball. Even Darius Garland should be much better at this than he is, right? Like, we don't really move off the ball well. I think that can be improved. We don't really screen well. I think you can improve that. Get some guys in here who can screen. Maybe if they're not the tallest, biggest guys in the world, but if they are really effective screeners that can stay on the floor offensively and athletic enough to run the floor in the East, which you're going to have to do, then I think that would be helpful because Evan Mobley, for as much improvement as he has made in his game, he's just not going to be a great screener anytime soon. So that's something that the Cavs could consider adding to the roster as well. And then obviously a backup point guard, somebody who can facilitate if Darius Garland isn't in the lineup, but also be an effective player, whether it be defensively, they give you something, off the ball, they give you something. You just want to get something out that player when Darius is in there, because when Darius is in there, you're really not going to need you're not going to need a backup point guard too much. Maybe if you want to get Evan Mobley more involved in the offense, have him go out there with a facilitator first point guard instead of having to go out there with guys who score first and Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. So he develops more of an instinct and confidence as somebody who can just go out and get you a bucket when you need it, because the ability is clearly there for Evan Mobley. I think the opportunities just don't come, and he doesn't demand the opportunities enough. So if you're asking me, if the Cavs were to trade any of the quote-unquote core four, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Jarrett Allen, because I think the probability of finding a good deal for Jarrett Allen is much higher than it is for Darius Garland. Not to say that it's certain or guaranteed to happen, but you're more likely to find a deal that you find very successful if you're Kobe Altman, or very favorable for Jarrett Allen, than you are for Darius Garland, where I think any trade involving Darius Garland is probably going to rip us off, right? Because we're the one trading away a 25-year-old, multiple-time all-star point guard when we don't have any other point guards on the roster. Like, I see us being the ones getting fleeced in that scenario. So that's my thoughts on that report. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Everybody have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.